So I'm Dr. Andrea Iaboni. I'm a geriatric psychiatrist at Toronto Rehab and a clinical scientist. And so I'm going to introduce my OnMyFeet team here.
Okay, I'm Sia, this is Coaching, and this is Xiongbing, and we are both MH students. Okay, so this app is called OnMyFeet, and OnMyFeet allows therapists and the patients to work together on goals to progress and identify barriers to therapy participation in a format that it is user-friendly for old people. And patients can improve engagement in rehabilitation. Therapists can better tailor their care by collecting patient feedback and monitoring patient status. So this is our block diagram. You can see that there are 3 parts of our project. And in the middle of it is our app is a green block, and we have 4 different independent different functional modules, and they are working independently. So all this data generated in goals, progress, and check-in module to send to our server. And then in the progress module and the action module, it will collect data from the Fitbit. So the Fitbit is the wearable provider. And also for our web, the therapists are using the web, so they can see all the data from the server. And they can also generate a report of each patient during this rehab. So yeah, that's it.
So for the demo today, I'm actually going to take the role of a therapist. If you can get the page up for me. So I would be a physiotherapist in a rehab center where patients are recovering from injuries. Yeah. So I would log into the OnMyFeet webpage. Oh, I missed a Z. Still missing one. And so if I had a new patient, for example, I could add my patient and enter her into the system. So this would be, say, for example, a 90-year-old woman who had come after having had a hip fracture. And so I would add her to the system. So I would go and meet with my patient. Hello, Erica. So we're going to be using this amazing new program to help learn a little bit about what your goals are in therapy. So I want you to start off by pressing my goals. And we're going to set some goals, things that are important for you in terms of your progress in therapy. So go through those pictures, and when you touch on one, you'll see a little green check appears. And I want you to pick those things which are really important to you in your day-to-day life. So you've picked a bunch. Now I'd like you to go through and pick the 4 that you think are the most important to you. The 4 different activities. So when we look at each of these, I want you to think a little bit about what is it about this particular activity that you enjoy or that is important to you. We're going to go now and look at the individual goals and think about the kinds of activities you're going to need to be able to do to be able to complete these goals. So if you want to be able to grow flowers, go through what are some of the things that you're going to need to be able to do before you can be able to work on your garden. So being able to carry things, to go probably gathering items, like items from the garden shed, some strength and endurance. Yeah, those are good ideas. So thinking about what you're able to do right now. So at the moment, you really need assistance with most of these tasks, but let's scroll up and see if there are any. At the moment, you're able to go to the bathroom just with someone monitoring you, so you can move that one along. Yeah, and so as you make progress in your therapy, we're going to move these along to yellow and then finally to green. Yeah, so that's great. So that now we've set your goals, and the next step is going to be ultimately that we're going to give you a Fitbit that will help track your progress as we make our way through. And so here, in the therapist view, you're able to see the patient's self-appraisal of their goals over time. So I'm actually going to review a patient who's been using the app for a while now, and that's Jack. And so I'm going to have a quick look at Jack's data. And I see that he's kind of plateaued in many ways. So I'm going to go and meet with him to talk about that. So Jack, why don't we start off by syncing your Fitbit to...
Okay, sure. Oh, so
yeah, you press that button there, and so it takes us to the Fitbit app, and then it'll sync. And it'll give us in a few seconds a reminder to go back to OnMyFeet. So now we've synced the Fitbit to our app. And so I'd like you now to have a look at your progress so far and tell me what you think.
Oh, it looks like I didn't watch too much and I didn't sleep too well in these days. And or maybe I spent too many times.
Yeah, I can see from this graph, the pink is the time you spent sedentary, where you're not moving very much. I guess you've been doing a lot of coding. And so, yeah, we really need to work a bit more on increasing your level of activity in the day. What do you think is getting in the way?
I'm feeling anxious during my therapy.
So if you press on checking in, I think it would be a good idea if you filled in the anxiety survey, and we can get a sense of your degree of anxiety and what sorts of things you're feeling anxious about. So in the checking in area, they're able to fill out questionnaires that monitor their symptoms over time.
So I submitted to the therapist.
Okay. And then finally, what do you think is getting in the way of you doing your regular activities?
Sometimes I will forget to do my exercise.
So why don't we look at the taking action section. One of the options we have set up there is setting an alarm to help remind you to do the regular exercise that have been prescribed by the therapist. So I've told you that you need to do these exercises twice a day. Can you think about 2 times that you'd like to be able to set your alarm and reminder?
Do it in the morning, do some running. Okay.
Running is a bit ambitious, but that's good.
Okay, and another in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and so yeah, so remember the last step is to sync, and then you will have the alarm set on your wrist. It'll vibrate, and that'll remind you to do your exercises. And so I can come back and I can review again goals and Jack's data, which syncs automatically with our server, and to keep track of the patients. So that's OnMyFeet in demonstration.
About what we have done that helped, well, it's very helpful to regularly meet with the therapist to get their feedback about the app, and when we develop, and if we can start again, we may try to design the user interface at the beginning so that it can be more consistent, and we may also identify a simpler wearable device for more accessible API. And in the future, we'll try to allow the therapist to send instructions to the patients, and the app should notice the data changes in the server and keep the local data updated. And questionnaires should be stored in the server for the therapist to edit them. And of course, we need more tests to make sure that this app is more robust and suitable for the seniors. And we'll try to make this app more compatible with different wearable devices. So that's pretty much everything. Thank you.
Great, lots of functionality. What did the physiotherapist say when you talked to them?
Yeah, so it was kind of partway through the process we spoke with them, and I think it was, in a way, it was to hone down what the sort of essential elements of the app. We had a lot of different ideas about things that would be interesting, and they were really like, well, this element is useful to us and that element a little less so. And so we were able to focus the project a bit with their input, and overall they thought it would be very useful.
It's got an enormous amount of things in it. It seems great that way. You tried to demonstrate how the therapist would talk the patient through. How do you feel now that you've looked at it and built this whole thing about how well a senior could actually do these things that these guys were doing at lightning speed?
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's still elements to the interface that that's probably one of the areas that needs to be improved for seniors. I think it'll be variable. I think there will be some that can handle it and some that won't, and so that's why I think it's flexible in the sense that therapists can work with patients with it. Yeah.
Do you think it's usable? You could use it yet right now, or more?
I think elements of it we could use, probably. I think there parts of it are certainly usable, but as a whole, it still needs some refinement. Yeah.
And how many of your patients have iPhones?
Yeah, this would probably be the therapist's or the unit's iPhone. That would be the tool that. But one of the feedback that we got actually from the therapist was that they thought this would be super useful for the younger patients, and so maybe it would also serve that purpose.
What are some challenges you guys were facing when you try to integrate Fitbit into your system?
Oh, we need to get back to the Fitbit apps every time we make some change on the alarm. So I think, and also we are trying to get some intraday data of the step and all the distance, but the Fitbits have limit for this request. So this is
We sometimes reach their request
reach their
limit.
limits and we can't sync.
And we can't sync anymore. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Well done.